You don't hear his name anymore, not on the terraces, not in documentaries, not even when they speak of Wales's golden generation. But you should, because Mel Charles stood on football's highest stage, faced Pelé, scored for Arsenal, carried his country to the World Cup quarter-final, the only time they ever got that far. And when it was all over, he slipped into silence. No statue, no tribute, no final song. They built legends around his brother, John Charles Immortal, global, crowned. But Mel, he was the one who stayed, who gave, who played through pain, sacrificed glory, and walked away quietly while the world looked the other way. He didn't chase headlines. He never wanted fame. But if football still has a conscience, then stories like this should never go untold. So if you believe the game should honor its forgotten kings, subscribe. Because today, we raise the name the world chose to bury. Mel Charles was born in May 1935, in Swansea, a city of coal, wind, and working hands. Football wasn't entertainment there. It was blood. It was duty. It was how you proved who you were. His older brother John left home early, signed for Leeds United in 1949, and the world opened its gates for him. But Mel stayed. And in 1952, at just 17, he signed for Swansea Town, his hometown club where the pitch was muddy, but the dreams were clean. He played there for 7 seasons, from 1952 to 1959, and made it count. In 1957, he helped Swansea lift the Welsh Cup, scoring in a 3-0 triumph over Chester before a roaring crowd that knew they were watching a local legend become immortal. 223 league appearances, 69 goals, sometimes a striker, sometimes a centre-half. Always what the team needed. He wasn't the loudest man on the pitch, he didn't dribble for cameras, but he could rise above defenders like smoke and strike a ball clean as thunder. He gave Swansea strength, presence, and purpose. And while John was becoming a hero in Leeds, Mel was building something quieter but no less real. In those days, you didn't ask to be a star. You earned your name in mud week after week. And by 1959, Arsenal had seen enough. They came calling because greatness doesn't always need to shout. In 1958, Wales did the unthinkable. They qualified for the World Cup, for the first time, for the last time. And standing at the heart of that miracle was Mel Charles. He didn't watch it happen, he made it happen. He played every match, led with silence, defended with dignity, attacked with power. They drew with Hungary, held Mexico, beat Israel in a playoff just to get there, and somehow they reached the quarterfinals. That's when the world took notice, not of Wales, but of a 17-year-old boy in yellow, Pelé, Brazil's golden future, Wales's immovable now. Anchored the defense against Pelé's Brazil, held the line while Pelé searched for space, and for most of that match held Brazil scoreless, until Pelé found a moment. One strike, one breakthrough. Brazil 1, Wales 0. It was the start of a dynasty, the launch of a legend. And Mel Charles? He walked off the pitch with no complaint, just pride, because he knew what he'd given, what they'd all given. On June 19th, 1958, Wales stood against Brazil, and Mel Charles stood face to face with destiny. Earned their greatest honor. And for 66 minutes, Mel Charles helped hold Brazil at bay. He stood beside legends Cliff Jones, Ivor Allchurch men who dazzled the world, but Mel, he anchored them, gave them the freedom to fly. He was there, on the pitch, face to face with destiny. And yet, somehow, the world remembered one name and forgot the other. Pelé reportedly praised Mel's brilliance. Some say he called him the best centre-half of that tournament. John once said, "Mel gave up the spotlight for me, but he was the better all-round player." He even exchanged shirts with Mel after that match, a silent nod between giants. In 1959, Arsenal made their move. They had watched him rise in Wales, watched him carry a nation in Sweden, and they saw what many didn't. Quiet greatness is still greatness. They paid £42,750 for Mel Charles, a massive fee for the time. One of the most expensive signings in Arsenal's history to that point. And at first, it looked like money well spent. Mel arrived at Highbury with presence, with polish, with purpose. He wore red like it meant something, played with balance, scored with calm. 28 goals in 60 league games. Not bad for a man who was never sure where he'd be asked to play. Forward one week, centre-half the next. But he didn't flinch. He just delivered. One of his finest days in red came against West Ham in 1962 goals, a Highbury roar and a glimpse of what might have been. Fans respected him. Teammates trusted him. But then it began. The knee, first, a tweak, then a limp, then a problem that wouldn't go away. And just like that, the man who had never asked for glory started to lose the game he loved. One step at a time. The knee slowed him, and Arsenal's shifting tides pushed him out. Arsenal moved on, because football always does. He was 27, still strong, still smart, but fading. And as fast as he had arrived, he was gone. No farewell match, no grand send-off, just the slow, cold door of elite football closing behind him. After Arsenal, there were no headlines. Just match days, smaller grounds, smaller crowds, same heart. In 1962, Mel Charles signed for Cardiff City. He gave them 3 years, 79 league appearances, 17 goals. In 1964, he helped Cardiff reach the Welsh Cup final, still fighting through injury, still chasing glory. Still leading, still capable. But the knee wouldn't let him breathe. Then came Port Vale in 1965, then non-league Oswestry Town. Where loyalty didn't make news, only goals did. He never made a fuss, never held a press conference, never called for pity. He just played. Not for glory, not for status, but for the ball, for the rhythm, for the sound of a match beginning and knowing he still had something to give. But bit by bit, that game, the one he loved, slipped out of reach. By the end of the 1960s, Mel Charles was no longer in the papers, no longer in the national conversation, no longer part of the story he helped write. And that was how football let him go. Not with betrayal, but with silence. He played 31 times for Wales, scored 6 goals, started in defense, switched to attack, did what was asked always. He didn't wear the armband, he didn't need to. In a side built on grit, Mel Charles was the glue. Quiet, capable, trusted. He gave Wales his prime, his strength, his knees, his silence, and when his brother John led the line, Mel stepped back, played deeper, covered ground, made space. Because that's who he was. A player who understood the team meant more than the self. He didn't chase records, didn't chase headlines, didn't chase personal glory. He chased the game, and he played it right. After 1958, he kept coming back when called. Even as his body faltered, even as the squad changed, he remained loyal to the red shirt. No testimonial, no mural, no medals. Just a quiet career of international service that slipped into history without celebration. Wales moved on. So did the world. But those who watched him, those who knew, never questioned who the soul of that team truly was. When the boots came off, Mel Charles didn't become a pundit. He didn't tour the after-dinner circuit. He didn't turn up in suits on television screens. He went back to work. Ordinary jobs, manual jobs, honest jobs. He built, he fixed, he carried on. "What the hell are you doing here?" the coach asked. "Playing at home, aren't we?" Mel replied unruffled. "No, we're playing United in Sheffield." "Can I have a game then?" he answered. One job was at a Swansea factory shifts, steel and sweat. No cameras, just work, just Mel. Fame was never his fuel, the game was. And when the game let go, he didn't complain. For decades, his name faded from the papers. The same journalists who praised his calm at Highbury now passed him by. But Mel remained Mel. Grounded, quiet, proud of what he had done, even if few remembered it. "I was proud to play for my country," he once said. "I never felt I had to talk about it, I just did it." Then, in 2005, he finally told his story. Not to settle scores, not to chase recognition, but simply to speak. His autobiography, in the shadow of a giant wasn't bitter. It was honest. It was graceful. It was him. He knew what the world saw, John Charles the legend, Mel the other one, but he never needed to compete because Mel Charles knew what he gave. "I wasn't jealous," he wrote. "I just wanted to play football. I was proud of John, but I knew who I was." Some chase fame, some carry truth. And some, like Mel, walk through life holding both, but only speak when it matters. In September 2016, Mel Charles passed away. He was 81 years old, and when the news came, there was no front page, no minute silence, no statue unveiled, just a line, a whisper, a name that once carried Wales, now left to fade alone. His brother John had monuments, immortalized in Leeds, worshipped in Turin, the giant. And Mel? Mel got memories. Memories held quietly by those who had watched him play. Those who hadn't forgotten because they had seen. But football moves on. It always does. No grand obituary from Arsenal, no national tribute from the FAW, no campaign to honor what he gave. And yet this was a man who stood face to face with Pelé, who gave Wales its greatest moment, who carried clubs, carried teammates, and never once asked to be carried himself. But when his time came, there was no lift, only silence. He never asked to be remembered. But he should have been, because Mel Charles was not a footnote, not a shadow, not the brother of a legend. He was a player who faced Pelé, who led without shouting, who gave everything and took nothing. He didn't wear a crown, he carried the weight, he wasn't carved in stone, because no statue was ever built, no stand named, no tribute cast in bronze, just silence and memory, held quietly by those who knew the truth. Wales's quiet foundation, Arsenal's humble servant, Swansea's silent soul. As one fan wrote years later, "Mel was our rock in '58. The world forgot. We never did." Another read, "He was the silent spine of that Wales side. Not flashy, just world class." 31 caps, 6 goals, hundreds of league games. A legacy left out of the headlines, but never out of the heart. And if the game forgot him, we won't. Let the silence break. Let the name Mel Charles be spoken with honor, because not all legends are loud. Not all giants are remembered. And not every king gets a crown. But if you believe football should honor the men it buried quietly, subscribe. Because today, we gave one of them his name back. The man who could have stood taller if the world had only looked. Mel Charles. Not second, not lesser, just lost, and finally found.